Hey, what's going on, guys? It's SideQuest64 here, and today we're going to be talking about Sony ending the production of physical media or disc in the year 2028. Now, if you're watching this, today's date is 7/21/2026. That might not be the day that I'm uploading, so just keep that in mind. Sony's decision to end the production of physical media or discs in the year 2028 gives us about a year and a half to kind of prepare for that. And if you're like me, you've been checking in pretty much every day, every morning, every spare minute that you get on these constant updates. First, it was, physical media ending production in 2028, PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita online stores shutting down. Um, some important guy for Sony Computer Entertainment Japan is shilling out his stocks. Now apparently Sony's releasing information pertaining to the purchase of physical media compared to digital media, right? So there just seems to be a lot going on. And the reason why I think this is the big one is because we've been slowly being curved away from true physicals. What does that mean? What does that look like? Well, that looks like the Nintendo Switch game keys, the PlayStation 5's install disc. So some of the games you have to install a ridiculous amount of information or of data onto the PlayStation 5 and then download the rest from the PlayStation Store. As far as Xbox goes, I'm not too sure because I've never owned an Xbox. The the only time I've ever had an Xbox in my house or in my person was when Sneak Club let me borrow his Xbox One, I don't know what it's called, to play Sekiro. And that Xbox probably stayed at my house for like a week. And then I finally gave up on Sekiro, so I gave him back his Xbox and I gave him his game. So obviously, you know, if we look at the past 3 years, we've been slowly reaching this apex, right? 2028, no more physical games for Sony. I'm not too big on the PlayStation 5. I actually didn't even buy my PlayStation 5. It was given to me by Sneak Club, who I'm guessing for some reason was also not too fond of the PlayStation 5. It's a gift. So when the whole DRM thing kind of went up, for me that was the final straw. I canceled my Plus subscription. I didn't update my PlayStation, and for the most part, I turn it on every now and then. I mean, I'll play some games, right? I'll play whatever games that I have on there, but the PlayStation 5 was never really on my radar from the launch in 2020 up until I received it as a gift. Now, that being said, if that's how I felt about the PlayStation 5, why am I so concerned about what Sony's planning to do with physical disc in the year 2028? Well, it's concerning because it's that easy to kind of not care about issues, right? If we backtrack a little bit, the reason why I wasn't necessarily interested in the PlayStation 5 was, for one, in my opinion, it's an ugly console. It's really ugly compared to the PS2, to the PS3, to the PS4. I think out of all of those consoles, I mean, obviously the PlayStation 2 is the best looking one, but the PlayStation 4 just had a slick feel to it, right? A slick look to it. So that was the first thing. I wasn't too turned on to the PS5 because of its look. The second thing is the year, well, I guess the year that the PS5 did get released. I had picked up a Switch. So I had picked up a Switch in like maybe February of 2020, and I was playing a lot of games that graphics speaking, were on the lower end of quality when it came to graphics, and that essentially opened my eyes to different types of games. So I've talked about it before on this channel where my experiences growing up as a kid, I played games, for sure I played games, but I played games. I mean, I had the games that I played the most, which was like Ace Combat, Assassin's Creed, and the Metal Gear Solid series. So coming from that generation, in my opinion, I think the graphics thing kind of peaked for me for a game maybe like Ace Combat. It's a flight simulator, sure. It's probably a lot easier to make it look pretty or realistic as you can with that type of technology compared to a game like Red Dead Redemption. Fun fact, I didn't play Red Dead Redemption until this year. So, going back, the original I haven't even played Red Dead Redemption 2. I have Red Dead Redemption 2 RDR2, Red Dead Redemption 2. I do have Red Dead Redemption 2, but I've yet to play it. And that's because I'm not big on open world games. So, what's my point to all of this? I'm trying to stick to the point. I don't like to do the scripted because it's like when I read a script, I just feel like I'm reading a script and I'm not. I don't know. Um, the negative side of not doing it from a script is I get sidetracked a lot. Going back to my point, if I'm not necessarily keen on the PlayStation 5, and Sony's announced that they're going to end physical disc production in 2028. Why is it important? Why does that affect me? Why does it affect me and many of us in the gaming scene? For me personally, it isn't necessarily just about the disc. It is about the options. It is about having the option to go and buy a game secondhand from somebody or from GameStop. I don't shop at GameStop anymore. I hate GameStop. They're terrible. I'll talk about that in another video. But being able to buy games secondhand from my local game shop, which isn't GameStop, or being able to go to Target or Walmart or Best Buy or any other store that sells video games secondhand, losing that opportunity, losing that option is, that's really the only option that you get. That's really the only option that you get. Option as in, maybe I worded that wrong. Option as in the alternative, right? Because if not, then of course you're buying from the PlayStation Store. Um, you're paying full price for a game that's been out for a year or two for some reason. What is that reason? There's no competition. There's no. At some point you're going to break. Sony's mentality is like at some point you're going to break and end up paying $70 or $80 for that game that's been out for a year or two, and that's it. They just they took it. They took your money. You gave them your money. Whereas with Nintendo, I'm a bigger Nintendo collector. The first party games, I'm not. It's funny. I'm not big on the first party game. I got Star Fox for the Switch too. Um, Fire Emblem Three Houses. I think I ended up getting that for like $40, which is still it's a good deal. But it's crazy to think that a game that's been out from the Switch One. I don't even know if it was a launch title or if it came how early it came out in the Switch One's lifespan, but $40 is still kind of up there because for a lot of games that I'm paying for that aren't niche or rare or developed by an indie company, I'm paying max like $20, guys. Anywhere between 20 and 30 used, sometimes even lower. I've picked up Switch 1 games for about the lowest I can remember is like $11. And the game wasn't crazy. It wasn't like this new gen far out there, state of the art technology, graphics, whatever. But the thing is that $11 game, it was priced cheaply enough for me to give it that opportunity. The second topic of why I think we need to be a bit more vocal about losing physical media within the game industry is if we look at the history, some of us have been around a lot longer. And when I mean a lot longer, I don't mean the PlayStation 2 to the current generation. I mean, before the PlayStation 2, before the PlayStation 1, before the 64, before the NES, before the Super Famicom, before all of that. I'm talking about, you know, the computers. I don't know what they're called. The I don't remember what it's called. Whatever. You know what I'm talking about? The fucking super old games that I don't know about because they were not on my radar. I don't have one. Look, you get my point. There's consoles before the PS1 and the 64, right? If we look at the physical media that those games came with, we get beautiful box art. We get a beautiful cartridge or a disc. We get an instruction manual filled with extra information, um, illustrations, character bios. You know, all sometimes too that'd be like promoting their next game that's not out yet, but it's gonna come out yet. You get the disc itself. Sometimes those games weren't perfect. Sometimes those games shipped with a lot of bugs, and you had this unplayable piece of shit, but you had it. You know what I'm saying? You had it. With each generation, and I'm telling you this from my point of view, I started at the PlayStation 1, and then I moved into the PS2, and then I stayed with the PS2 for a long time. The PS3 had already been out for, I want to say maybe 5 years before I got my first PS3. When I got my first PS3, it was the second generation, like the slim, like the fat black slim model. It was this one. I got the PS3 um when these models were like kind of out already. Cause shortly after they made those really ugly ones where you could like slide them, and it was like the most ugliest looking thing ever. But even looking at that, let's take a moment to look at that. You had like the fat PlayStation 3, the OG one, and then you had this one that I just showed you, and then you got that ugly looking sliding model one, right? Now, if you look at why Sony did that was, of course, obviously to bring the price down and also to make it more accessible to people, right? Instead of spending $600 on the OG one, you're now spending about 300, 350 on this version. And then if you don't have 350, you have about $200 or less to pick up the ugly sliding PS3. They did that to give you options. They did that also, I mean, for them to tap into the people who were like, you know what, I don't have $600 to get that, but 5 years down the road, they don't mind shelling out $300 for a fat model or a slim model. Let me look up what these are called. Is it capturing? I'm hoping that it's capturing this. Um, you have the launch base model. You have the hybrid PS2 emulation. I'm not sure what that is, but if I'm not mistaken, you could play PlayStation 2 games on this one, which is cool. Then you have the slimmed original design, which is, I guess, a slim version of this one. And then you have the first slim release, which is the one that I have. And then there's the PlayStation 3 no PS2 support. Then there's this high capacity original large slim storage. So I'm guessing these are just going based off the storages. And then you have the super slim. This is the ugly one. This is the ugly one. So when these games, I mean, obviously now these are like current prices, right? Like you can get any of these versions well under $200, which is fine, right? $200. So you can see even with the consoles, there's some sort of variation when it comes to prices and what they can do and what they can't do. with games, with actual games, I remember getting my PS1. I was super into Army Men Team Assault. I was looking through that book. I'd look through it right now if I actually had a copy of it, but I don't. Um, it was cool being able to get the game, the physical copy, right? Having the booklet inside, being able to like scroll through it, showing it to your homies, like, dude, check this out. You never took the game, you never took the actual disc, because I mean, if you lost the disc, then you didn't have the game. But at the time, for me as a kid, it didn't. It meant a lot to me. It meant something to me, but it wasn't that big of a deal if I lost the booklet or if I cracked the game case, essentially, right? Now in hindsight, I'm like, that would have been really cool to still have as an adult, especially in for two reasons: because of nostalgia, or memories and mementos of my childhood, and two, because it just shows that at that time as a kid, you thought it was always going to be like that. You really believed that this was the standard. This is Every game is going to come out like this. Every game is going to be like this. It was so normal. It was the standard. There was, we didn't look into the future in 20 years and go, hey, dude, Switch games are not going to have booklets anymore, manuals, instruction manuals. PS4 games are not going to have instruction manuals. PS3 games aren't going to have instruction manuals. Actually, hold on. Japanese import Monster Hunter Portable Third. I actually think this era of Monster Hunter is better than the current era, but I mean, whatever. Those games are just not for me anymore. Those games were not made for me. Look, there's this the booklet has a bunch of Japanese. Of course, I can't read Japanese. I don't know what any of this says, but it's cool to look at. This one's actually like not as like interesting, but then you get this. You get the fucking. This was when the PSP was still out, when still at the peak of its popularity. And then that's the crazy thing. You get a little flyer for the PSP, okay? And then in the same booklet, trip out on this, mind you, this is a PS3 game. There's a booklet for Monster Hunter Frontier for the Xbox 360, and it has codes in here and everything. Um, Now sometimes in the Switch games you get stuff like this. You'll get these little pamphlets, and that's like pretty much it. Um, but of course that's what I'm talking about. Now what we know this. We know this. A lot of us know this already. A lot of us know that they don't do it this way anymore. They just don't. So what is my point? And obviously I don't want to be repeating what everybody's been saying. We've been watching these videos. We're caught up to current events when it comes to the gaming industry. A lot of us know this. So what is my point? My point is that if we allow companies to continue getting rid of things like this, we are also losing a huge um, we're losing an important contribution to the culture of gaming. And that is in part an artistic contribution. Now, I am an artist. Um, I do traditional art. I do watercolor and ink with a brush, and sometimes I do digital art. Usually, it's just to kind of do effects or to color my traditionally inked um, pieces. But this is more concerning to me than AI. AI is pretty concerning, but to stay on point here, I think that if we continue to allow companies to get rid of this physical media that all of the arts contribute to, music, writing, storytelling, visual and graphic art, we're taking a huge blow culturally, because I think video games is something that embodies all of these things. I have books. Check this out. My girlfriend my girlfriend brought this today for me. World War II. Imagine if the technology was around at the time that this book was produced, and instead they decided to go digitally and say, hey, instead of releasing the book on World War II physically, we're going to release it digitally. And then at some point, for some reason, discussion or the understanding of what took place during an important period of human history was offensive. Somebody decided that we needed to not talk about these issues, and they removed this book from the internet. They removed it from people's digital library. They removed it from existence, essentially. That's what's happening. That's literally what's happening. That's we just saw what last week. Sony was like, "Hey, we're gonna get rid of like 500 movies and TV shows. Even if you paid for it, sorry, it's gone. It's gone. It's not yours anymore. It was never yours to begin with." That's important too, right? Because movies, film contribute to a culture artistically, right? I think I think it's disappointing that this is the way that such a niche industry, such a well, I guess it's not niche anymore, but an industry that has offered so much to so many for so very little, for them to be the ones to take the first steps in this direction. I think it's extremely disappointing. It's extremely disappointing, and I feel let down. I feel extremely let down. I initially felt let down when the Switch 2 was announced, and it was like we're gonna have the game key cards, and then some of the games are gonna have an actual physical game key card. I mean, they're both physical, but one's gonna have all the shit that you need on there, and the other one's not gonna have all the shit that you need on there. I was looking at the the information for Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 2, and for I think for Metal Gear Solid 4 it was like 20 gigs, and then for Peace Walker it was, let me pull that up, dude. Hold on. I'm not good at this. I've tried so long to make YouTube videos, but I do not. At the end of the day, getting home from work, I'm like, I fucking sometimes I don't even want to take my shoes off. Okay, let me see. Switch to physical version. Physical version, minimum space required, 30.4 gigabytes. Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots, 25.9 gigabytes. Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker Master Collection version, 4.2 gigabytes. Bonus content, zero point 0.3 gigabytes. So I was reading here that one of them actually does come on the game key card, or it's like already on there, and I think it was Ghost Babel. Bonus content, Ghost Babel. I remember it had like a little asterisk. Maybe they got rid of it. Let me see, Nintendo Switch 2. 30.4 gigs. That seems, I'm gonna be real. That seems like enough to be put on a game card. If not both, at least Peace Walker. I mean, shit, dude. Put fucking. There's so many people that have not been able to play Metal Gear Solid 4 because it's been stuck on the PS3. Give us one of those on the game card at least, right? I totally forgot where I was going with this. Fucking, I don't know. It's ridiculous, dude. It's ridiculous. It's disappointing. It's disheartening. It's it I don't know how I feel about it. Obviously, like I'm disappointed. Obviously, I feel a little betrayed. I feel a little kind of like I'm done. Right, I was going with the Switch 2. With the Switch 2 when they announced it, I was so hyped for it. I was like that whole year leading up to the announcement of the Switch 2, I was like I'm fucking so hyped for it, dude. I was so down with the Switch. I was like I'm a hardcore Switch player. I'm a Nintendo fucking fan, whatever. I fuck hard with Nintendo. And then I remember watching that Nintendo Direct, and I was like I'm probably not gonna get the Switch 2. I didn't like that they did the game key card thing. I didn't like that. I was super turned off by that. And I didn't get a Switch 2 for a while. For about for about a year. I did buy a Switch 2 in April. I bought a Switch 2 in April. I loaded up all of my Switch 1 games on there. And then I said, "You know what? I think I'm just going to stay with the Switch 1." I gave my Switch 2 to my girlfriend, and she had a blast with it. She still has a blast with it. And she didn't buy me a Switch 2, or she bought me a Switch 2 on my birthday, which was like 2 weeks ago. And I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful that my girlfriend did that. And I've been trying to make that transition from the Switch 1 to the Switch 2. Not necessarily trying to be like, you know, upset about it, because there's nothing to be upset about necessarily, but there's something in my mind that says feels more of a downgrade. Why does that feel like a downgrade for me? Because I'm not interested in playing hyper realistic video games. The video games that I play, I prefer the PlayStation 2 graphics personally. A lot of the games that I play are still in a pixel art. A lot of the games I play are pixel art. Now I understand the 2.5 HD, Octopath Travelers style is beautiful. It's very beautiful. I prefer that. Sure, I'll take that. I'll take the HD pixel art graphics for sure. But it doesn't bother me if they're not in that fidelity, right? So it's not a big deal to me. You know what? You know what's like another thing that I wanted to talk about. Um, I'm not too sure exactly like the age group, the age range that this is affecting people the most. If it's like older, millennials and whoever came before that, or if it's affecting like the current generation, Gen Z and millennials, and or if it's affecting everybody, right? A message to the younger generation. Let me tell you that growing up with physical media, with games like this, like in this package, was amazing. It was amazing. Now as I got older, they began to take that, right? They stopped doing this and started doing what they do with the Switch. We all know what that looks like. But to the younger generation that now has fewer things to care about, in my opinion, I think the current generation of humans, of people, I don't know if that's Gen Z or whoever's after Gen Z, um, you're reaching a point in a society where you don't have things to look forward to. I see this because I work with this. I work with a lot of younger people, and I can see that their worldview, the way that they see the world, they don't have much. Now, fighting for something just because it wasn't in your time. It's not like, hey, you can't fight for this cause because you weren't alive when it was in abundance, or when it was at the peak, it was at the climax of its industry. No, I think that you should fight for these things, because being able to experience this it changes you. It changes your worldview. It changes the way that you think. It changes the way that you see things. It changes the way that you understand things. You know, having I mean, of course, like how stupid does it sound? How stupid do I sound literally saying here, you know, hey, this is something, this is an issue, this is something, a cause that people should be more aware of and paying attention to and fighting for. Because at the end of the day, it is just a video game, right? It is just a video game. But for those of us that know, there are a lot of games out there that taught us a lot of things. There are games out there that were examples for us to look up to. As an artist, as a gamer, let's say this, the Metal Gear Solid, like that was my role model. Snake was my role model. I wanted to be like Snake. I wanted to do the things that he did. That's why I played those games. I wanted to think the way that he thunk. That's why I played those games. Um, on an artistic level, I think I'll just say it here. I mean, I don't care if it's a 30, 40, 50 minute video. Um, I couldn't read as a kid. Okay, and when I was a kid, this is early 2000s. Yeah, I was, I don't want to put too much out there, but let's just say this. I was old enough to understand when shit happened when 9/11 happened. I couldn't read as a kid. And so I remember I had this teacher and she fucking picked on me, bro. Like I couldn't read. I'm sorry. Was I dumb? No, I don't think I was dumb. But I had this teacher that picked on me, and because I couldn't read and I couldn't write, I couldn't spell, I turned to drawing. I turned to drawing. And at first it was a way, obviously people need a way to communicate. We want to express ourselves, right? It could be through music, it could be through poetry, it could be through visual arts, it could be through painting, it could be through fucking playing video games, it could be through acting. You know, people have a way of expressing themselves. It's not just on an emotional level. Emotions are what feed the expression. So I started drawing. And then I was like, damn, I'm hella good at this. I'm really good at drawing. Obviously, when you're like 6 years old, you don't know what good at drawing is, right? Or you don't know, like you think you're good at something, and then you after like a year or two, you're like, oh, dude, I thought I was good. I'm absolutely terrible at this. So I developed a skill for drawing before I could read or write, and at that time, I ended up getting being held back 2 years because I could not read and I could not write. Now, that changed something in me. That pushed me forward to be like, hey, you know what, dude? I'm not dumb. I'm not stupid. I'm just having a hard time understanding this thing that we call language. And I worked very hard at it to improve my skill. But the skill that I improved the most, because it was my only way of expression, the only way that I could communicate. Obviously, I could speak. I'm not saying that I couldn't speak. Like I didn't know how to talk, right? But the method of expression that worked for me the best was not the same that worked for a lot of my classmates. A lot of my classmates could write their name. A lot of my classmates can write complete sentences. I couldn't. I didn't start developing that until I was in like 6th grade. Or I'm like, okay, you know what? Low key, this shit's starting to make sense. And that's because I had a teacher who took a great interest in me and spent a lot of time, dedicated a lot of time helping me understand what I was not understanding, and also opening my mind, right? Opening my worldview into other things. I played video games. I could talk to my teacher, to my 5th grade, 6th grade teacher about um what was I playing at the time? I was playing Kingdom Hearts. I was playing Kingdom Hearts. I was playing Kingdom Hearts. I was listening to Chiodos and Seosin, and I was drawing all the Naruto characters. that's what I was. That's who I was in fifth and sixth grade. And this teacher was like, if you've listened to Chiodo's All's Well That Ends Well, he put me on. He was like, "Hey, that's funny that that name of the album is called All's Well That End Well, because that comes from a extremely decorated and uh yeah, right, decorated individual known as, what's his name? I forget his damn name. Shakespeare. Okay, there you go. Right? He did a couple plays or whatever. Right? All's Well That Ends Well. Okay, let's go Chiodos. Boom. All's Well That Ends Well, the debut studio by American post-hardcore band Chiodos, released July 26, 2005. Right? Funnily enough, Chiodos was inspired by Kingdom Hearts. Okay, I probably won't be able to find the damn article. I think this is it right here. The Heartless control everything. It's a 30p from American post-hardcore band Chiodo Bros, right? So this was like before they were simply known as Chiodos. Um, the title is a reference to the popular selling PS2 video game Kingdom Hearts, whereas the villains in the game are called Heartless. So this isn't just by chance. This isn't just like, you know, the Heartless controlling it, because that could mean if you don't get it, that could mean anything. That could be like somebody who is heartless, and we're not talking about Heartless from Kingdom Hearts. We're talking about somebody who just, I mean, not that they don't have a heart, not that they don't have a heart, so they're dead, right? You understand the reference. So I started looking into this. Why? Because my teacher was like, check out Shakespeare. I think he's above your reading level. But look into his stuff. And then, I'm listening to Chiodos and I'm like, oh, dude, that's crazy. These guys, were super inspired by Kingdom Hearts, and they have um uh an EP that is basically inspired by it. Obviously, if you look at the artwork, I mean, fucking, I would say they're just more inspired by Shakespeare, because this is some old time ass equipment here. But it opened my mind, right? It opened my mind. And then we had Naruto, Masashi Kishimoto. I used to subscribe to monthly Shonen Jump. I would get those in the mail. My mom was cool enough to order those for me, and I would sit there. I would read through it. I would only read the Naruto. I didn't care about One Piece. I didn't care about I think it was Rosario Vampire at some point. There was a few there that I was that were in the monthly Shonen Jump. Um, I remember One Piece. I remember, and Bleach. Bleach was another one, but I remember Piece and Bleach. I didn't really care about them. I was more into the Naruto thing. So that definitely fueled, my direction. For the games, it's the same thing with the games. A couple years back, I there was this sealed copy of Dirge of Cerberus. A lot of people are like, "Dude, that game sucks, terrible game." A sealed copy of Dirge of Cerberus. I grew up playing this game. This is not my original copy. Unfortunately, my parents decided to throw when I moved out. My parents decided to throw all my shit out. Um, so I lost a lot of my original games. But I remember this. I played the fuck out of this game because the music's good. The gameplay, I mean, when you're a fucking, I don't know, like a 9 or 10 year old kid, you're a vampire dude with a big ass gun. Like, it doesn't get any cooler than that. I used to look through this booklet because of the artwork. Okay, Final Fantasy VII. I don't even think I played Final Fantasy VII at this time, at when I played this game. I think I had tried, but uh, I I didn't like turn based, so I for sure played this. I knew all the characters from Dirge of Cerberus. The artwork on this was like, yeah, I mean, even to this day, it's awesome. It's beautiful. The colors, the line work, the characters themselves. it says a lot. And so to the younger generation that of course right now maybe you don't understand this, and that's not a cap. No cap. It's fucking stupid. To the younger generation that, might feel unaffected to this, sure, maybe it doesn't affect you. Maybe you don't even care. Maybe it's to the point where it's like you don't know. That's the thing. Like you don't understand what this did to you growing up. And the reason why I aim it to the younger generation is because one, I see it. I work with um the youngest generation on this planet right now. Um they don't have anything to reach out. They don't have anything to reach out for. It's an extremely sad situation because when I remember my childhood as a kid, it was full of cool shit. It was full of shit like this. I was in fifth grade listening to Chiodos. I had no business. If you've never listened to Chiodos, go and listen to their first album and think a kid listening to that. It was ridiculous. Um, but I see on TikTok there's this current obsession with the 90s, with the 2000s, the early 2000s. There's a nostalgia there. There's a huge nostalgia for the aesthetic of the 90s and the early 2000s. There's a huge nostalgia for jungle from for drum and bass jungle from the 90s and the early 2000s. And it's crazy to think that it's 2026. It hasn't been that long ago, but that to me is a clear indicator that this generation and the generations that are coming after it don't have a an identity unique to their own. And I'm not saying like, hey, oh well, I'm a 90s kid, by the way. um you didn't have anything, you had everything that came before it, right? I'm not saying like we were purely original. We created everything, and everything that came after that is ours, right? That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we had outlets. We had communities that were within reach, in order that were curating, not necessarily towards us but for us, to a community, to a very specific community. And I think that this is one thing that's going to affect even more an even bigger community, because you don't, I'm not going to say you don't, but you don't play games for your childhood and then you're like, okay, well, I'm 15, games are for little kids, I don't play games. Or you don't not play games in your childhood and then turn 15 and then go, okay, well, you know what, I'm 15 years old, I'm going to start playing video games now because that's what 15-year-olds do. That's not how gaming works. It's a cultural thing. It's something it should be up there with film, should be up there with literature, should be up there with music, and to a certain point it is. But Sony's decision to stop manufacturing disc in the year 2028 is going to blow. it's going to it's going to affect the gaming industry and the gaming communities with it. Obviously, I think that gaming will be around for a very long time, but even too before this whole getting rid of physical media appeared on anybody's radar, we were slowly being curved. But I think the biggest thing that I started noticing was I don't care about first party games. I don't care about first party studios. They're not interesting. They all seem to be going for the hyper realistic live service, battle royale, competitive PvP. Like, dude, come on, bro. Like, I'm an old ass man. I understand that those games are not for me. But at the end of the day, I want to come home and tune out, the realities of that I exist in, and enjoy a good story. Enjoy a good story. Um, And unfortunately, I think that the indie scene is the one taking the lead on that. I think the indie scene is has been consecutively like crushing it with storytelling, gameplay mechanics, or just overall fun. The games are fun, and I'm not saying all of them. I'm not saying all of them. There's some indie games out there that are like don't hit any of those marks, right? But what I'm saying is that the indie scene is consecutively getting more and more and more of what the gamer wants, what somebody who enjoys video games wants. And I think that if this trend continues, that the first party, the AAA industries, all these companies and corporations and studios and all of that, all the people with like $1 million to throw out the window are going to be overshadowed by a small team in the basement who took 3 or 4 or 5 years to develop a game that essentially it's the greatest game of the year. We've seen that with um Expedition 33. Personally, I didn't like it. um it Whatever. uh the Hollow Knight, the second one, whatever the fuck it's called, Mina the Hollower, right? I don't know what it's called. I'm pretty sure there's a few more there. You're a gamer. Right? Like, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. I don't have to over explain this. I think if the way that the current industry, the mainstream industry, continues going, obviously it's still gonna have its people, right? The people that just want to play live service or whatever slop that they're putting out, your Concords and your uh whatever that other game is, the Apex styled games or whatever, Overwatch, those games, the Marvel Rivals, whatever. Those people are always going to be there. But the people that are a little bit more invested into the scene, a little more invested into the culture, they're going to begin deviating from that mainstream path, and the indie scene is going to be what takes over. It's a cultural thing. It definitely is a cultural thing. I think it's going to have huge repercussions on culture, as we know it. And I think that's why it personally I feel extremely disappointed that this is the way that the industry's taking it, because either they know what they're doing, or they don't realize how this is going to affect the generations that come. We're essentially losing. We're not losing gaming, but we're losing half of what gaming is. Um, Again, it goes back to, CDs still get made for some reason. Everybody uses Spotify. Spotify pays like shit. I used to make music. I used to be a DJ. I used to sit here and make music, and I was like, I'm gonna be a DJ, and I'm gonna work for Dirty Bird, and I'm gonna travel to Europe, and I'm gonna be badass. I'm gonna get invited to all the clubs. Spotify pays like shit, dude. Like, you need, like, I think now you need like 1,000 consecutive listeners, and then you start making your royalties on it. Um, for the people that were in bands, uh, in the music industry, you get paid up front. I don't know. Let me just make a number up, $120,000, which I don't think that's a lot. But now you got to pay, your bandmates out of that $120,000, and then you got to pay the studio to record a mix and then to master that mix. Those people get money out of that, and then at the end of the day, it's like if you don't make that money back, you're paying it somehow. That's the music industry. It's terrible, terrible. Everybody went to streaming. I don't even know how that works. I know how it works, but I'm not gonna sit here and explain it to you. In the book right now, there's kind of the same thing too. Self-publishing is probably a bit better option for somebody who is getting into the publishing deal. Why? Because when you go through a publishing house, you submit a novel, and they kind of do the same thing too. Essentially, what the publishing houses would do is, yes, they'll take care of the logistics of making these books, of printing them out, setting all that up. But the only difference is that back in the day, if you were a Bantam book author, writer, whatever, you got signed on to Bantam or to um, fucking some sort of obscure ass SF publisher. Congratulations, you just unlocked, however many people that were subscribed to that publisher are now readers of your work. So if you had 100 people that were in Doubleday, and then they released you on their and their published works, you now have 100 people that read you, or 100 potential people that will read you or not read you, right? That's changing now. People are going self-publisher. Why? Because you can get on social media. You can get on social media like the way I am right now. You can make a video, a TikTok or whatever, a short, and potentially reach millions of people. So what's easier? Do you essentially get pimped out by the big dog in the industry? You get pimped out, um, and then still have to work a 9 to 5 or find some way to make ends meet because the money doesn't come. The money doesn't always come. Or do you just figure it out? You're already working a 9 to 5, dude. You might as well try to make most of that money back for you. In the gaming industry, it's the same thing. They're dropping zillions of dollars on marathon, this and that. No, nobody's getting what they want. Nobody's really getting what they want. They're closing studios down. Sorry, dude. Sorry, bro. You didn't make us $1 zillion. This project cost us $1 zillion to make, and you didn't make us back that $1 zillion. The dollary dues. Gotta shut you down, bro. But you know who the smart people are? You know who the fucking smart people are? The indie people. The indie people that are like, you know what, dude? Fuck it. I'm gonna work my shitty 9 to 5 job at Taco Bell. Or, sorry, I'm not trying to put anybody down. Wherever it is that you work, but you know that that's not what you want to do for the rest of your life. And roll the dice, bro. Make a Hollow Knight. Make a Hollow Knight and say, fuck it, dude. We got enough money to live, but we got to start working on that next game because it's going to take us a couple years. But by the time that game is finished, people are already wanting the third version of it, the third iteration, the third installment. We want Hollow Knight 3, whatever that looks like. And because you're listening, because you're so in tune with the song and rhythm of the culture, you know exactly what these people want. You know exactly what your fans want. And your fans want physical media. They want to own their shit. They want to they want to support you so that you can continue making things for them that they enjoy. It's a cycle. You see how that works? It's I give you money and you give me some shit that I enjoy. It's not like I'm just gonna give you money, I'm gonna give you money, I'm gonna give you money, and then fucking take it away. Sorry. Fucking Sony, go ahead and come and take all my collection. Nintendo, since you're at it, go ahead, come and take it too, bro. It doesn't work that way. It's a really shitty way. Take my books, take my CDs. I have OSTs, man. I have CDs. I got a bunch of jungle CDs from like the mid 90s in my car. My car is a CD player. Fucking Goldie's gonna come and take away my CDs now. Good looking records gonna come because they couldn't pay their taxes. They didn't pay their taxes. The IRS is gonna come take my CDs. It's ridiculous, bro. It's ridiculous. And as an artist, I want to contribute. I want to contribute to the culture. I want to contribute to my culture. I'm Hispanic, American, but there's another there. I'm a gamer. I'm an artist. I want to contribute. I don't art these days doesn't have I mean, look, just open up your phone. There's millions of artists on every end of music and writing and all of that shit. It's there's a lot of people out there trying to make it. There's a lot of people out there. And just because I don't get to make it doesn't mean that I don't want other people to not make it. Some people are going to work harder than I am. Some people are going to have better connections than I do. That's fine. I understand that. But at the end of the day, that's what I choose to put my energy into. That's what I want to put my energy into. I want to make a game. I started doing game jams. I don't know how to code, bro. I don't know how to do any of that. But there's a dude there somewhere that does know how to do all that shit that I don't. What does that guy know how to do that, or what does that guy not know how to do that I know how to do? I 3D model, pixel art, animation, traditional, watercolor. That all goes into it's a culmination. I know how to make music. I'll link the game that I made with the homie um for the Godot game jam. I'll link it in the description, and you go tell me it's not the best game ever, but God, it was the best like week that I had working on the art, and then working on the music, and then figuring out how we were gonna get this together. It was a contribution. Hey, I wasn't expecting anything out of it. I contributed my time, I contributed my skills and my energy to it, and I had fun. It's an hour-long video. Um, I apologize. You know what? I don't. I was really pushing the YouTube thing last year, or the past 2 years, but it's another thing that I don't necessarily want to pick up because I already have so much going on. I have a full-time job. I have my hobbies, which is drawing and making music. And of course, you gotta make some time for the people in your life the important people in your life. And so doing the whole YouTube thing really for me is it's a difficult thing. I could have fixed this. I didn't want the full picture. Yeah, maybe not the full picture. Um I mean, we'll see. I don't know. This is just one of those things I really felt passionate about. I'm trying to do the gaming thing a little bit more. I feel like everybody's just already doing it, and I don't have anything interesting or unique to say, so I don't add to it. I really don't add to it. But maybe I've been thinking maybe since I do have a huge background in art, turning this YouTube channel into an art channel, but also focused on video games and maybe animation. I'll see how that goes because again, you're gonna watch this video. I'm gonna do like the minimal amount of editing that I need to do because I don't have 4 or 5 hours to sit here and do this. By the time I get done, I'm like not even gonna care about it. But anyways, this is SideQuest 64. Hopefully you guys understood me in all this madness, and if you're an artist, I would recommend that you consider this an opportunity to let people know that you're here, to let people know that you have a skill, and whatever it is that you do, if it's game related or just like nerd culture, um take that opportunity to let people know, and let the companies know, let the corporations know, let them know that hey, we love physical media. Yeah. I got an idea though. I got an idea. This gave me an idea. I'm gonna try to make my own PlayStation 2 box art. I'll keep you guys updated on that. But anyways, SideQuest 64. You guys have a good day, good evening, good night, whatever it is. Have a good one.